My daughter's hand was steady as she drew up the insulin. Her smile reflected in my bedroom mirror. "Mom, you just rest. I'll handle your shot tonight." Neither of us mentioned that the syringe held 3 times my prescribed dose, or that I'd been watching her prepare it through the hidden camera feed on my phone. Let me back up. My name is Sarah Morrison, and until 3 weeks ago, I believed I had everything. At 58, I'd retired from Wall Street with $1.8 billion, a penthouse overlooking Central Park, and a daughter I'd sacrifice everything for. Amanda was my only child, my pride, the reason I'd worked those brutal 100-hour weeks climbing the ranks at my hedge fund. Her father died when she was 10, a heart attack at 42, and I'd raised her alone, determined she'd never want for anything. Maybe that was my first mistake. Amanda married Derek Park 4 years ago. He was charming enough real estate agent, good-looking, always knew the right thing to say. But I'd built my fortune reading people, spotting the micro-expressions that betrayed their true intentions. Derek had a tell. When he talked about money, his pupils dilated just slightly, his breathing quickened, a hunter spotting prey. I ignored it. Amanda loved him. She was happy. What mother wants to be the villain who ruins her daughter's marriage? But 6 months ago, things shifted. It started small. Derek began asking questions about my health insurance, my estate planning. "Just want to make sure you're protected, Sarah," he'd say. That perfect smile, never wavering. Amanda started calling more often, always steering conversations toward my will, my assets, my legacy plans. "Mom, you should really think about simplifying things," Amanda said one Sunday brunch at Balthazar. She pushed her eggs Benedict around her plate, not meeting my eyes. "I mean, all those investment accounts, the offshore holdings? What if something happened to you? I wouldn't even know where to start." "Nothing's going to happen to me, sweetheart. I'm healthy as a horse." Derek leaned forward, his hand covering mine. "Of course you are. But Amanda just worries. You know how she is." His thumb pressed against my knuckles, just hard enough to hurt, just hard enough to be deliberate. I pulled my hand back and smiled. "I appreciate the concern. Really." That night, I upgraded my apartment's security system. 6 new cameras, all hidden, all streaming to a private server only I could access. My Wall Street instincts were screaming, and I'd learned long ago to listen to them. "Where are you watching from today?" Because what I'm about to tell you happened right here in Manhattan, in a building where apartments sell for $20 million, where everyone smiles and nobody asks uncomfortable questions. 2 weeks later, Derek showed up unannounced. "Hey Sarah, Amanda's running late. Mind if I wait?" He walked straight to my study, his eyes scanning my desk, my filing cabinets, the wall safe I'd installed behind a Rothko painting. "Make yourself comfortable," I said, heading to the kitchen. "I'll get us some coffee." I watched from my phone as he rifled through my desk drawers. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, someone who'd done this before. He found my medical files, photographed several pages with his phone, my latest physical, my prescription list, my doctor's notes about monitoring my blood sugar levels. I wasn't diabetic. But 3 months ago, I'd mentioned to Amanda that my doctor wanted to keep an eye on my glucose. A precaution, nothing serious. Derek had been in my study for 7 minutes when his phone buzzed. He answered, walking to the window. "Yeah, I got it. No, she's type 2, not on insulin yet." That's perfect. If she starts insulin, an overdose would look completely natural. Heart attack, just like her husband. How much? Jesus. Okay, yeah, I can do that. My hands shook as I poured coffee I no longer wanted. My son-in-law was researching how to kill me, and based on that conversation, my daughter knew. I walked back into the study, smile fixed in place. "Coffee's ready." Derek pocketed his phone, his expression smooth. "Thanks, Sarah. You know, you're looking a little pale. You feeling okay?" "Just tired. Long day. You should really see your doctor. Get your sugar checked again." His eyes held mine, and I saw it clearly now. Not concern, calculation. After he left, I sat in my study and cried. Not for myself, for the little girl who used to climb into my lap and say, "Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be just like you." For the daughter who'd drawn me Mother's Day cards covered in hearts and glitter. For the young woman who'd called me sobbing after her first heartbreak and I'd caught the next flight home from a Tokyo business trip just to hold her. Who would do such a thing? I knew the answer. Money. Derek was drowning in debt from failed crypto investments. I'd run a background check after the wedding. Found judgments totaling $8.4 million. And Amanda had developed expensive tastes. The designer clothes, the luxury trips, the Upper East Side lifestyle. My monthly allowance to her, a generous $25,000, barely covered her American Express bill. They needed me dead. They needed it soon. And they needed it to look natural. I could have gone to the police right then. Should have. But I needed to know for certain. Needed proof. Needed to understand if my daughter, my baby, was truly capable of this, or if Derek had manipulated her into something unthinkable. So I set a trap. The next morning, I called Amanda. Honey, can you come by? I have some news from my doctor. She arrived within the hour, Derek trailing behind her. I led them to the living room, where I'd arranged the staging carefully. My medical files spread across the coffee table, a prescription bottle empty, ordered through a friend sitting prominently on top. What is it, Mom? Amanda's face was pale. You're scaring me. It's my blood sugar. It's gotten worse. I picked up the prescription bottle, watching their faces. Doctor, Reynolds is starting me on insulin. Daily injections. Amanda's reaction was immediate. Her hand flew to her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. Oh, Mom. But you'll be okay, right? It's manageable? I almost believed her. Almost missed the way Derek's hand squeezed her shoulder, the quick glance they exchanged, the way his jaw tightened with something that looked disturbingly like satisfaction. It's manageable, I said softly. I'm not great with needles. Never have been. I'll do it. Derek stood, taking the bottle from my hands. Amanda and I will help. You shouldn't have to deal with this alone. That's so sweet of you both. I touched his cheek, this man who planned to murder me. What would I do without you? Over the next week, I played my part perfectly. The aging diabetic, slightly confused about her medication, grateful for her daughter's help. I taught Amanda how to draw up the insulin, how to find a vein, how to push the plunger slowly. She practiced on saline, her hands gentle, her face concerned. You're a natural, I told her, watching through hidden cameras as she later Googled lethal insulin dose and how long until insulin overdose causes death. My daughter, my only child, planning my murder with the clinical efficiency I'd taught her myself. They accelerated their timeline when I mentioned, casually over dinner, that I was meeting with my lawyer the following month to update my will. Just some minor changes, I said, noting how Derek's fork paused mid-air. Charitable giving. That sort of thing. 2 days later, Amanda called. Mom, Derek and I are thinking of taking a little cruise. Just a long weekend, the Caribbean. We've been so stressed, and we need a break. That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. The thing is, we booked it for next week. I know it's last minute, but the deal was too good to pass up. A pause. Will you be okay alone? With the insulin? I'll be fine. You two enjoy yourselves. Are you sure? Because we could cancel. Amanda, go. Have fun. You deserve it. I hung up and immediately called Detective Martinez of the NYPD, who connected me with FBI Special Agent Chen. Yes, a Chen. But this one was real, and he specialized in insurance fraud and attempted murder. Mrs. Morrison, Agent Chen said, reviewing the footage I'd compiled. This is extensive. I was a portfolio manager for 30 years. I know how to document everything. We spent 2 days reviewing it all. Derek researching insulin overdose protocols. Amanda purchasing a second bottle of insulin with a forged prescription. Text messages between them, discussing their cruise alibi and making sure the timing is perfect. Financial records showing Derek had already taken out a $10 million life insurance policy on me forged signature, but he'd gotten remarkably close. We can arrest them now, Agent Chen said. No. I looked at the photo of Amanda on my desk. Age 6, gap-toothed smile, holding up a drawing of the two of us. I need to know if she'll go through with it. I need to know if there's any part of my daughter left who might stop this. Agent Chen studied me for a long moment. That could be dangerous. So is loving someone more than they love you. The night before their cruise, Amanda came over to help with my injection. Derek had already left off to run errands that I knew involved establishing his alibi. Amanda drew up the insulin, and I watched her face in that mirror, looking for any sign of hesitation, any flicker of conscience. She smiled. This might sting a little, Mom. The syringe held enough insulin to kill 3 people my size. Sweetheart, I said softly, do you remember when you were 7 and you accidentally broke my grandmother's vase? The Waterford crystal? Her hand paused. I remember. You cried for hours, said you'd never forgive yourself. I told you that everyone makes mistakes, but what matters is owning them, making them right. Mom? What? I'm giving you a chance to make this right. I turned to face her fully. Put down the syringe, Amanda, please. For one heartbreaking moment, I saw my daughter's face crumble. Saw the little girl who'd cried over broken crystal, saw regret, shame, fear flashing across her features. Then Derek's voice came from her phone, on speaker in her pocket. Did you do it yet? And just like that, the moment passed. Amanda's face hardened. I'm sorry, Mom, but you were going to change your will, leave everything to charity. After everything we've sacrificed, everything we've put up with. You've put up with having a mother who loved you, who gave you everything, who controlled everything. The words burst out of her. Your money, your rules, your approval. Do you know what it's like being Sarah Morrison's daughter? Nothing I did was ever good enough. Every job, every choice, every relationship you had an opinion. You had to be in charge. So you decided to kill me. Derek decided. I couldn't stop him. He's in so much debt, Mom. They were going to take everything. His license, our apartment, everything. This was the only way. No, baby, it wasn't. I stood slowly, seeing her confusion as I remained steady on my feet, seeing it dawn on her that I wasn't sick, wasn't weak, wasn't the easy victim she'd imagined. You're not diabetic. No. But I needed to know if you'd actually do it. If my daughter would actually murder me for money. Amanda lunged forward, syringe raised, and I stepped aside as FBI agents burst through my bedroom door. She'd barely processed their presence when Agent Chen had her in cuffs. Amanda Morrison Park, you're under arrest for attempted murder, insurance fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder. She screamed. She fought. She called me a monster, a manipulator, a terrible mother who'd driven her to this. Derek, arrested simultaneously at the marina, where he was boarding their Alibi cruise, said I'd orchestrated everything to get rid of my disappointing daughter. His lawyer actually tried that defense in court, claimed I was a vindictive billionaire who'd framed my own child. But you can't argue with security footage, with text messages, with a syringe full of lethal insulin and a forged insurance policy. The trial took 6 months. I sat through every day of it, watching my daughter refuse to meet my eyes. Her lawyer painted me as a controlling matriarch who'd never let her daughter live her own life. Maybe there was some truth in that. Maybe I had held on too tight, given too much, made it too easy for her to see me as an obstacle rather than a parent. But I'd never plotted to kill her. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Derek got 25 years. Amanda got 15, with possibility of parole in 10. You know what's better than seeing a plan backfire spectacularly? Watching your child take responsibility for their actions. It never happened. Not during the trial, not during sentencing, not in the letter she sent 3 months later, asking if I'd reconsider my decision to disinherit her. I sold the penthouse. Too many ghosts. Moved to a smaller place in Brooklyn Heights, 3 bedrooms instead of 7, a view of the harbor instead of Central Park. I started volunteering at a women's shelter, helping young mothers learn financial literacy. Started teaching them how to build wealth without losing themselves, without raising daughters who might someday see them as nothing more than a balance sheet. I donated $1.2 billion to various charities, set up a foundation in my late husband's name, kept enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life, which is all anyone really needs. The money was never the point. It was never about the money. It was about the moment I looked in my daughter's eyes and saw nothing but calculation, about watching her draw up that lethal dose without hesitation, about hearing her justify attempted murder because she couldn't wait for her inheritance. Sometimes I wonder if I could have done things differently, been less controlling, given her more space to fail, to struggle, to build her own life instead of living in mine. Maybe then she wouldn't have grown to resent me so deeply that killing me seemed like liberation. But I'll never know. And she'll never tell me. Because 4 years into her sentence, Amanda still hasn't acknowledged what she did. Still hasn't said sorry. Still hasn't asked how I'm doing, or if I'm okay, or if I think about her. I think about her every day. I visit sometimes. The Bedford Hills Correctional Facility, maximum security, 2 hours north of the city. I sit across from my daughter in a room full of other broken families and try to find something to say. She stares at the wall behind me, jaw tight, saying nothing. I love you, I tell her each time. I forgive you. And when you're ready to talk, really talk, I'll be here. She never responds. But I keep going, because that's what mothers do, even when their daughters try to kill them, even when love becomes the most painful thing you've ever felt. My neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, asked me last week why I bother, why I visit someone who tried to murder me. Let her go, she said. Move on with your life. But how do you let go of the person you carried for 9 months? The baby you nursed through colic and held through nightmares? The toddler who called you her hero? The teenager who both loved and hated you in equal measure? The woman who smiled as she prepared to end your life? You don't. You can't. You just learn to carry the grief alongside the love, the betrayal alongside the memories, the reality alongside the dreams of what should have been. I have good days now. Days when I laugh with the women at the shelter, when I treat myself to a show, when I walk along the promenade and feel genuinely grateful to be alive. Days when I almost forget that my daughter wanted me dead. And I have bad days. Days when I replay that moment in the mirror over and over. Days when I wonder if I should have drunk that lethal dose, if dying might have been easier than living with this knowledge. Days when I wake up crying and don't remember falling asleep, but I survived. Not just the murder attempt, but the aftermath, the trial, the headlines, the whispers at charity events, the pitying looks from people who used to envy me, the loneliness of having everything except the one person I'd have traded it all for. I survived my daughter's greed, her hatred, her willingness to watch me die, and maybe someday she'll survive what she became. Maybe someday she'll realize that the woman she tried to kill was the only person who ever loved her unconditionally. Maybe someday, when she's 58 and alone, and wondering where it all went wrong, she'll understand what she destroyed. Or maybe not. Either way, I'll be here, building a new life, helping other women avoid my mistakes, learning that sometimes the greatest wealth isn't measured in billions, but in the strength to forgive the unforgivable and keep living anyway. My name is Sarah Morrison. I'm 58 years old. I have $600 million and no one to leave it to. I have a daughter in prison and a son-in-law who won't be released until he's 73. I have a 2-bedroom apartment, a rescue dog named Hope, and a reason to wake up every morning. And I have my life. The one they tried to take. The one I fought to keep. It's enough? If you're watching this, commenting where you're from, sharing your own stories of family betrayal, thank you. You remind me I'm not alone in this, that we all carry scars from the people who were supposed to love us most. So take care of yourselves out there. Watch for the warning signs. Trust your instincts. And remember that sometimes the most dangerous person in your life is the one you'd do anything for, because they know it, and some of them will use it. Please, like and subscribe if this story resonated with you. And if you have a complicated relationship with family, if you're struggling with betrayal or grief, or the impossible choice between love and self-preservation, leave a comment. Let's support each other, because we're all we've got in this world, and that has to be enough.